We tend to look at parasites in two broad groups. Endemic, in other words, they belong in us, they're part of our normal natural ecosystem, and non-endemic, so something that we have contracted, and those are the ones that really make us sick, so you're not going to miss that at all. Endemic parasites are the ones that they form part of our ecosystem, and I don't know if that's generally accepted. In a lot of circles, we have so many conversations with people saying, I need to get rid of parasites. Well, you need to get rid of the ones that ail you, but not all of them, because you need some of them. So our ecosystem has an absolute myriad of microbes that live in it. Parasites are part of that. Bacteria is part of that, yeasts, fungi, all sorts of different protozoa. We are so microbial. I think Dr. Zach Bush says we're something like 98% microbial and 2% human, or something like that. He makes some little joke about it. We have an absolute plethora of microbes that we need in order to function. So if you think of yourself more as an ecosystem rather than just a you, then it starts changing the conversation a little bit, because the more important question is, do you have the right microbes in you, or do you have any microbes in you that shouldn't be there at all? And that's really the two broad distinctions we draw in homeopathy. Secondly, have you got too many of one microbe or a number of microbes? Because that's what will happen when that ecosystem becomes imbalanced, and typically it will go quite acidic. What you'll find is that some of the microbes will proliferate beyond their normal levels, and that's when you can have those symptoms. You become symptomatic. So your body has this amazing defense mechanism against microbes that are non-endemic, and you will never miss it. So please don't feel like you're not aware of something being in there. If your immune system is functioning, it will let you know. So we're looking for an ecosystem in homeopathy that is healthy, that's balanced, but it's never static. We're an organic being, so we're always moving and changing, and that's the whole point of homeostasis, is being able to respond appropriately to changes in your internal environment and also changes in your external environment. So if the body has gone a bit too acidic, which is what happens most of the time, and we have a temporary proliferation of parasites that's endemic to us, the body just goes, oh, well, if I'm a healthy ecosystem, I'm just going to rebalance. So anything that's excess, like we'll stick to our pinworms because that doesn't freak too many people out too badly, I'm just going to get rid of the excess. And that's when they'll be up at 2 in the morning saying their bottom's itchy. Okay? So that's just the body trying to rebalance and getting rid of the excess parasite. So we want some of it, but not too much. And that's pretty much true for all of the microbes in our ecosystem. We want them to be within normal range, ideally, but we all want perfect health all the time. That's just not realistic. So from time to time our ecosystem goes into that homeostatic process and goes, actually I'll just get rid of some of the excess. Non-endemic parasites, these are the things that we can have through contaminated water. So when we hear about Delhi belly or Bali belly, that would be an example. Or if you've gone hiking and you've had water with giardia in it, that's very common in New Zealand especially. So there are contaminants, there are parasites that we definitely don't want in our ecosystem. But you're not going to miss that, because your body is going to go into a purge response. Typically you'll raise a fairly substantial fever, and you're going to start squirting somewhere, all right? Top, bottom, skin, somewhere. Something's going to start coming out. You're not going to not know that it's there. So your body has this amazing defense mechanism against microbes that are non-endemic, and you will never miss it. So please don't feel like you're not aware of something being in there, or you're seeing all these semi-hysterical posts about parasites. Because as a society, we live in a hyper-sterilized environment. We all know that. I think most of us are aware now that we actually need some dirt around us for us to have a healthy ecosystem. So when we are constantly bleaching and cleaning everything to within an inch of its life, especially using chemicals, we're actually creating a situation where we become hypersensitive to any change in our environment. And it's the hypersensitivity that becomes an issue. So our internal ecosystem is just not as robust as it should be. So the vast majority of people in a first world Western society have bioaccumulation of toxins, environmental toxins. They are way too stressed, way too little sleep. So they become chronically inflamed and chronically acidic. A perfect environment for the ecosystem and some of the microbes in that ecosystem, specifically parasites, to proliferate and to stay that way, because this ecosystem can no longer function. So that homeostatic process that you see with little kids who are really healthy, of, oh, okay, too many pinworms, not a problem, we'll just get rid of the excess and then you're fine. That's the normal natural process, but the older we get and the worse this situation gets, the less capable our ecosystem becomes. So now we just live with that proliferation, and then one thing leads to another. So when you think of what your body is built to do, which is to rebalance itself and get rid of excess, then it becomes more logical to think, well, if I'm in strife, what can I do to help that repair cycle, rather than putting something in it that's going to make it even worse. So this is really the vast majority of what's going on. So when you're on social media and every second post seems to be about parasites at the moment, and then you start going down some rabbit holes, and then apparently the parasites are flying through the water and it's coming in your tap, and oh look, there's all sorts of conversations. It doesn't change what you do about it. Your question is, what can I do to protect my environment? What can I do to help my internal environment to rebalance so that I'm naturally healthy? And it really doesn't matter what parasite it is. It's mildly interesting, but it doesn't actually change your homeopathic treatment of it. So I think at this point it's probably a good time to ask Tracy to add to that in terms of nutrition and lifestyle, because that's how you avoid the situation, but it's also how you repair it.
As with I'm a nutritionist who works homeopathically and energetically, so food's a little bit different in my mind than just nutrients. It plays a big role in healing. So a balanced, nutrient-rich diet is always going to work to complement any kind of treatment you're having. It's going to help you overcome those infections that you have better, because you've got a strong fertile soil underneath. You can't keep throwing the food in that doesn't support you and hope for miracles. It doesn't happen. You aim for a diet rich in whole foods, so you've got your fruit, your veggies, your lean proteins, and you support the gut with your fermented and your probiotic food, but no going overboard. Avoid your processed foods, your refined sugars, anything that really comes in a packet, because they're the things that are going to aggravate. I've seen them fueling, like when you are a bit out of balance with a heavier parasite load on board, you'll know sometimes by the food you're craving. You'll be saying, why am I craving these rubbish foods? Like, you're craving the KFC, or you're craving, some people it's the alcohol, some people it's twisties or chips, or, out of character. And when you clean that system up, you'll find that a lot of these things drop off, and there's lots of cases where that has been documented. And it's really important on any program when you're detoxifying, you've got to keep all the pathways open. So you've got to support, you've got to eat a fibre-rich diet, make sure your bowels are working properly, you're detoxing your liver, every pathway. I think a lot of these things are brushed under the carpet, and everything's got a different connotation now. But when you can eat well and your body's working well, everything works better. So it's just an important add-on to the homeopathics.
Yeah, it's about creating that whole environment that's conducive to healing, rather than just blaming the parasite. I think that's probably the message we're trying to say here, is focus on the ecosystem, not on the parasite. Because too much of what we see out there is, buy this product because it will kill this parasite. Or, use this 3-step detox program because you're going to get rid of heavy metals and parasites and all of this. So the focus remains on the bug, the microbe, the product or the substance, instead of asking a better question of what can I do to improve the whole environment, so that the environment isn't so prone to getting sick and accumulating all of this waste, which then leads to all of the imbalance. So it's a higher value conversation to have with yourself, rather than feeling like the victim at all points and, oh my gosh, now it's this parasite and tomorrow it's going to be that metal. Because you know how these things work. There'll be another product and then there'll be another problem. So step away from that and just look at the whole environment. And as Tracy says, this is not the quick fix. which means it's going to last. Because if anybody's going to tell you, you do this protocol for 30 days and your life will be different forever, I mean, I would hope that we're savvy enough now in marketing to know that that's not true, and the change has to come from inside.